everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and welcome to the October 2025 edition of Making the Cut. Making the Cut is my monthly series here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel where we talk about my favorite thing, die cutting. Today we're going to create a spooky, fun Halloween card that is postage collage themed with die cuts. I am going to be combining lots and lots of my favorite Simon Says Stamp Halloween themed die cuts with the Waffle Flower Postage Collage A7 dies. We always have those cards that a A2 card is just not going to be quite big enough, and this was one of them. I had pulled out all of my Halloween dies first, and I felt like the A7 5x7 card was going to be perfect for this. I've die cut my postage collage from some fog colored cardstock, and then I am taking the wonderful block stencil from Waffle Flower, and I've used all of this in my Misty. We're going to take some Shark Color Positively Saturated ink from Simon Says Stamp and an ink blending brush and very, very lightly ink around the edges of our postage collage. For this card, I'm not looking to completely change the color of the background, but instead just provide a little bit of that wonderful shadowing or depth and dimension that is really going to put an emphasis on each of these individual postage, little postage stamps. Now, what I love about this is we're going to end up with 6 postage stamps. I am using mine as a complete panel for this card. I love these postage collage designs, whether it's the A2, whether it's the A7, or even a slimline version of this. I love all of them. One of the things I love is you can use it as is. I've used it with stamps, with other die sets. You can kind of reinvent it over and over again. But I also love that you can make this your own and completely cut these apart and maybe make several cards instead of just one. So while I'm using all 6 of these postage stamps for one individual card today, if you wanted to, you could assemble all of these postage stamps, cut them apart, and maybe even get 2 to 3 cards depending on how you lay them out. You could take these larger postage stamp images and break them up and put them on A2 cards, or even make little labels for gift packages or treats for kids' school or anything like that with these. So super fun. After I have inked up the squares with a little bit of that shark ink around the edges, we are then going to take another Waffle Flower product. This is the Postage Collage Spider Web stamp set, and I am going to stamp this with the same shark color ink that I used to blend around the edges of the postage collage and stamp those little spider webs in several of the openings, and then I'm going to remove the mask and we're going to clean that all up, and we are ready to start assembling, all of the cute images in each of the postage stamps. Now, I am combining lots of different images from amongst some of my favorite Simon Says Stamp die sets for this. And this first one combines this adorable little boo. This is the Little Boo Wafer dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I am pairing this with a ghost from the Haunted Pumpkin Wafer dies. Now, I'll be honest, I really love when a vellum ghost, they're all die cut from the Simon Says Stamp Ice Vellum. I love when they kind of go through letters and things, but this wasn't working. I felt like the Ice Vellum is a lot more opaque. Even though it's still considered translucent, it's a lot more opaque than some other vellums, and that, it was kind of making the word hard to read, and that's never the goal in a card at all. So I decided to carefully pull that, and you can see I'm just kind of scraping off a little bit of the black cardstock. I really wanted to show how I didn't die cut anything. I'm just going to make it work. And we are going to instead have that little boo tail wrap around the word just barely and have the ghost completely behind this little boo sentiment. What I love about the little boo is it's so tiny that it actually fills that small postage collage postage stamp perfectly. Sometimes I do have a little bit of an issue using the smallest postage stamp on these simply because I don't always have something that small, but that just worked perfectly. I love when things work out. Okay, so next I am going to speed up the assembly. You can see I've laid everything out here. So let's talk about the dies as we are building each individual postage collage section, starting with the Jolly Pumpkin Wafer dies. This is a die set from 2024, actually. I pulled some of my older favorite Halloween dies from Simon Says Stamp, as well as brand new releases from I believe from the STAMPtember first release. And I am actually adding a little inking with some Allspice Positively saturated ink to these two jack-o'-lanterns and then popping them in this top corner. Then I am going to go ahead and do my other jack-o'-lantern that comes from a newer set called the Haunted Pumpkin Wafer dies. And we're going to use the two of the ghosts from that with this jack-o'-lantern. And then, of course, the third one goes with the little boo up there. Now, you might be thinking, why is the boo up there not assembled when I just watched you assemble it? Well, that is because I did not realize my video camera turned off and I had already assembled every single image on this card. So not only did I make one of these cards, I made two. I die cut everything and then reassembled it for you guys here. So you'll also see me do the stamping and things for this card here in a bit. So don't worry about any of that extra stamping. I am going to be adding all of that here in just a second. Okay, so we're just going to assemble this boo again. And I wasn't even sorry that I ended up with two of these panels. Truth be told, the second panel, I will be cutting apart the postage stamps and then making some additional little projects and things with those for my personal use, which is always kind of a great idea. Okay, one of my favorite new little ghosties is this little mummy ghost. I think it's so cute. I've used some fog cardstock over the ice vellum. All of my ghosts are from ice vellum. And then I'm just assembling him and he's going to be popped in that middle postage stamp in the top row. The rest, so we're using all of the ghosts from this new costume ghost parade. We're also going to use any of the ghosts from the 2024 release of the Trick or Treat ghosts. They work together seamlessly, and that is what I love about these. So one of them is in the kind of upper portion of this design. The rest of our little Trick or Treat and costume ghosts are all going to be in these bottom two postage collage stamps. That's going to include this little witch here, which is from the 2025 Costume Ghost Parade. The cat, though, is from the Trick or Treat ghosts. And then in that middle bottom section, we're going to have a ghost from the Trick or Treat ghosts. Also, the superhero is from the Trick or Treat ghosts. And then the vampire and the pirate, those are from the Costume Ghost Parade. I think they are absolutely adorable. I love the size and scale of these. They are on the smaller size, but they are going to work for so many different projects. I mean, if you have like treat bag toppers, if you have, if you want to just line them up on your card, put a bold sentiment in the center, and then frame it with all of these different little decorated or costumed ghosts, I think that would be adorable. You could use little individual ghosts on gift tags. I just think they are so much fun. I love that superhero cape and the mask. That's always been one of my favorites. And then, of course, this little pirate is so much fun. So he's going to go kind of layered over the top, or not really over the top, but kind of in between the vampire and the superhero. But because it's vellum, instead of completely covering up the cape of the superhero, you still are going to get the hints of that through the ghost, which I think is fun. Now, what you're going to see here is even though these ghosts are absolutely adorable, so super precious and fun, they really need eyes. So what I'm going to do And it does appear that I maybe did forget to stamp the sentiments on camera too. So just note that the little bats are die cut from a waffle flower set. That's the Postage Collage Spooktacular. And then the postage itself is from the Waffle Flower Postage Collage Fall, as well as the Postage Collage Spooktacular. So just a couple of cancellation marks, prices for stamps, and then that little pumpkin sentiment are stamped with the Simon Says Stamp Nocturne ink. The eyes are what are going to make the ghosts come to life though. And what I found worked best and why this is saved to the end, you definitely would not want to die cut all of the eyes, all of the ghosts again, basically, from the Raven Black cardstock, and then try to figure out what eyes go where. What I ended up doing was each individual die, I would die cut one at a time and then assemble the eyes into the coordinating ghost. And if I could offer any advice at all, that would be my advice, simply because it makes it the easiest to know what goes where. And then I would immediately use the embellishment wand and the piercing tool to put the ghost eyes in place. I also used, a little bit of the sharp edge to clean up if I got a little too much of the craft glue in an area. But I found this worked fantastic for cleaning up any of the ghosts' eyes. But look at how the faces come to life. And then the fact that you can see through the ghost, you can see some of the spider web through the ghosts, you can see some of the other ghost characters through ghost, etc. really makes a great impact. I absolutely love, love, love how this looks. I think it's so super cute. You'll also notice I kept my color scheme very muted, very Halloween. The only additional color I really pulled in was the red for the superhero cape, and for the pirate accents. That's it. Everything else is orange, black, white, and gray. I'm taking a white Jelly Roll pen, which I did use to draw some emphasis to the jack-o'-lantern eyes, and I use this to make highlights on all of my ghosts' eyes, as well as add highlights here and there throughout the rest of the design, because that's really going to make those images pop. Absolutely the cutest thing. I love it. I did draw in some lines on one of the brims of the witch hats because that added a little emphasis, a little fun, a little extra detail. And then we are going to add some additional sentiments to round out our greetings. Now that trick or treat greeting stamped in the middle top row postage stamp is from one of my favorite brand new, I think it was a STAMPtember. I know it was a STAMPtember 2025 release set called Halloween Basics by CZ Design. And I love the bats in this image, and I considered using them, but it didn't work for this particular card, but the sentiments worked perfectly. So I stamped Trick or Treat right on the postage stamp. I've stamped Happy Halloween and Stay Spooky on a separate piece of black cardstock, and then heat embossed with white embossing powder on that black cardstock. We're going to use some Sentiment Labels 2.0 dies to die cut these into strips that we can then add to our card. And that is going to be really the only major in air quotes dimensional part of this design. Yes, we have a lot of cardstock layered and things, but this card is not super dimensional, meaning it is going to go in an A7 envelope very easily and be able to be mailed. I did pop up my sentiments with some foam adhesive strips. Look how cute this is. It kind of overlaps a couple of the postage squares this way, and I love that on there. Now, one of my favorite hacks is this A7 frame, which can be used a couple of different ways. You can use it over the top of your postage collage design, and this does come from Waffle Flower in several of the different sizes of their postage collage frames. So you could use it over the top and make it more of like a shadow box look rather than postage collage if you want to. Or if you place it behind, it gives you a wonderful contrast that goes back behind your postage collage, all those little cutout shapes. And in this case, I used that terracotta cardstock from Spellbinder, so it really stood out. Glued the whole thing to a 5x7 card base. And then we are going to finish with some very simple embellishments, which are these gold stars from Simon Says Stamp. And these just came out in the most recent Sugar and Spice release, I believe. And I have put them in my triangle tray, and then I'm simply picking them up and popping them in place around my card for that extra little bit of shimmer and shine. Super fun. And again, I am a huge fan of mixing and matching your dies, and in this case we took waffle flour and paired it with Simon Says Stamp to create this truly one-of-a-kind beautiful Halloween postage collage card. You don't always have to use stamps with these postage collage products. You can often take some of your favorite die cuts, fill in all of those little postage collage shapes, and you end up with an absolutely amazing card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Halloween postage collage card. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.